Good afternoon. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, Cynthia on demand. How you doing? All right, let me just get a few technical things going. Can you hear me all right? All right, let me just, yeah, you can hear me all right. Okay, so today is a slight continuation of yesterday, although if you weren't here yesterday, that's perfectly okay. So I'm just letting some people into the waiting room for the Zoom. Welcome. All right, let's see where we're going to go today. Get all my stuff sorted out. So yesterday we talked about this connection. Oh, let me record. Hang on. I'm not recording yet, Lisa. Which doesn't matter for those of you watching on social media, but when we go over to do our processes, then those of you that are in Holistic Mystic Mastermind, our inner circle, you will have those replays, those full replays of the public and the private access. So we want to be recording. So say good day if you are watching on Rumbus Healing Arts and YouTube, Spirit Whisperer. Actually, I don't think we're streaming on Spirit Whisperer. We are on Instagram today. Yay, Instagram. Okay. So yesterday we started to touch in on this idea of dissociative identity disorder or multiple personalities, some may say, right? And I just sort of briefly went over that and how that could relate to channeling, trance, psychic information, intuitive information, right? And how we access these other personalities or external entities, some might call them, spirit, passed over, loved ones, these types of things, right? Do you remember? That's what we were touching in on. And I went on around and around of all sorts of stories, didn't I? But ultimately, this is what we're talking about. How does trance mediumship or channeling work, mediumship? How does that process and mechanism of gaining information connect or link to these adaptive strategies or our protective strategies or our protective aspects of self, right? Sometimes it's felt as the older one protecting the child, the inner child. Yeah. It's so interesting. Okay, Rebel. It's the one you used yesterday. What one did you use yesterday? Or go into the portal. It still should be the same one. I haven't changed it yet. But I do need to change it. But it's still the one you used yesterday. If you can find it, I'll see if I can grab it and give it to you somehow. I'm not sure how though. So give it a go, and if you're still not able to come in, I'll see how I can get it to you. You don't remember. All right, give me a minute. I'll get it to you. And see if I can. Actually, I'll have to do it on my phone. Hang in there. So contemplate what I just said, and any questions you have, put them in. See, I drop everything for our holistic mystic inner circle. They're important. They're important to me. And we need to get this link. All right. So let me see if I can do and talk at the same time. So what we're going to do today. Oh, here. Is this her? Yeah, here she is. All right. She's in. She's in. All right. Now we can start. We have our lineup. Now we can start. So today I said we would carry on with that. We didn't necessarily do any experiencing, but I was talking about how when we connect or around how healing, how we can heal, or the healing implications of particular types of trauma work and spiritual work, in particular, how we prepare to connect to spirit. And what I've seen, both with myself, but also with some of you that follow here, but also my one-to-one clients and students, how their experience of themselves and others has shifted by doing that work. And when I say that work, because I'm talking about both sides, this, this spiritual conscious evolution and the, trauma, psychotherapy, and mindfulness type trauma-informed work, right? And also based on a question that I got from a client who was asking me, well, I'm just going to say it like this. How do you know? Somebody asked her, so she was asking me. Somebody asked her, how do you know if it's what part of the self you're communicating with? Like, how do you know if it's, if you're doing psychedelics, or if you're traumatized and you have these other aspects? And you may have or know of people who have multiple personality, or DID, dissociative identity disorder, right? I just have always said aspects of self, haven't I, ladies? And maybe there's some gentlemen. Had an awesome talk with a new friend. Had a call and was explaining some of this. When people say, well, what do you do? Well, how long you got? All right, because it brings it in. So what did I do? I gave him an experience, and this will give you a direct experience. And he, through that experience, was like, oh, yes, I get what you do. Yeah, okay, yes. Right. And the profound information that was coming through and how it was organized and whatnot, right? Sometimes, it's a lot of words. We want to go here. And as soon as he or you intellectualize it, and I can mix it with the best. I was an academic. I was a researcher, right? I have a lot of things behind my name. Who cares? Who cares? I don't care. That's not what's important to me. The importance is how that informs how you are in the world, how you experience the world, and how others experience you. Are you giving, not of yourself, not stripping away to the bare bones so there's nothing left of you, right? Are you receiving in particular ways? Anyway, gone off on a tangent, but what we are going to do is experience some stuff. Okay. Let me just get this Facebook back up so I can see what's going on. I lost it when I was finding the link. Okay. All right, we're back on. All right, so today what we're going to do, we're going to start connecting. So some of you that I can see, you know how to sit with self, yourself, and the self. Do you remember the differences? Those that have learned it, do you remember the differences? Yeah, pop it in the chat. Work with me. All right. Just in your words, like what would be the key difference between sitting in your power and sitting in the power, or sitting with yourself? I've just given it away, but and sitting with yourself and sitting with the self. This is the way I speak when I'm teaching the 3 levels of intuition. Right? That physical aspect, the intermediary aspect, which is more around the mediumship, psychic awareness, intuition, and the divine intuition, which was what I was sharing with this man today, was that's where we get to the purity of unconditional love, where love and fear are connected. When you're in one, you see the other. When you're in the other, you see the one, right? There's no separation. We could label that in lots of different ways, but this is the way I'm talking about it today. So we have these different ways of knowing, and that physical is really the human aspect, that real human aspect of our instincts and our fears, our fear of fear and our fear of love, like the adaptive strategies that come in if we've been stressed, if our needs or wants haven't been met, how that's laid down in our what's called the core organizers. So our sensations, our emotions, our thoughts, our beliefs, our conditioning, how we see it, like literally, or how we vision it. I think that's all. And okay, so there's these levels. So what I'm going to attempt today, let me see if you put in the chat yet. Have you? Anything in the chat? Let me see. Oh, there's something in the chat. Let me see what it says. Self is physical, emotional. The self is higher self. Yay, good work. You get your certificate. So where was I? So we're going to be curious today. And I taught this person about being curious and experimental. And those words might freak some of you out. So be it. Look at your fear. What's there a fear of? Like those words bring up. Being curious is not needing or having to know the answer. I will never come to you knowing the answer, like going, oh, I know the answer from my intelligence. And although I have intelligence, supreme intelligence is where I'm working from, which is the 3 minds merged. Therefore, I don't need to know from that physical place anything, because I have the knowing, the direct experience, and the ability to be that vessel. And when I sense something, so listen to the language, when I'm sensing something in my physical system, meaning if I feel it, it's coming through the energy into the physical nervous system, and it's felt in a way through the senses. So that's the key, because regardless of what level we're going to touch on, you being familiar and curious and experimenting with what's it feel like, what's the sensation when I am sitting in this space, and when I'm sitting in this space, and when I'm sitting in this space. Okay. So I haven't taught this, and we're not going to go the whole way through on the live, on the on demand, because we won't have time, but we'll complete it in the holistic mystic. But what we're going to do is start with connecting with the self. What do you feel like? And those of you that follow, I will say, how are you today? Yeah. How are you? R-ing is beyond being, doing being into R-ing. How you are, the world shall be. How you are received by another, not necessarily through the eyes and felt sense. The whole of who you are, right? Not just your trauma behavior, not just your habitual patterned actions that are in the world that are unconscious. That's not who you are. If you're unconscious of it, it will be how you're received. But is it who you are, your true identity? It's those layers, those coatings, those, in Hebrew, they call it the klep. It's like the shell of the seed. The shell of the seed, the hard coating. Hard coating. Hey, Rebel, what do you think of my painting? I've changed it. Anyway, we were doing our paint party yesterday, so it's not finished yet. But the shell of the seed. So this is a familiar model. Instagram can't see it. There you go, familiar model. Let me see if I can keep it there for a minute. Where that center circle could represent that mindful awareness, that true identity. So this is a refresher for some of you that I'm looking at. For those of you on some of the social media, you may not have seen this before. So let's just refresh. Sat Nam, true identity, true name, awareness, mindful awareness. It's that space where when you sit and you can get relaxed, and maybe some of you are having difficulty getting relaxed. There's so much stress in your system that you can't contact that core of yourself, that core of who you really are. That's okay. It takes practice. There may be so many layers encodings, beliefs and conditioning patterns, veils, blankets. What else do you call them? Shells, blocks. Lots of different words we use, right? These are the outcome of wants and needs that weren't received. What you wanted or needed as a child was not provided or able to be received, or was not enough, or how it came was scary or hurtful or harmful or whatever it was. And how that's laid down. Okay. And then what happens is you have all these stories in here. All these experiences, all this encoding. And as you're sitting as your true name, true self, in that space of, most people, when I ask them, I say, what are you feeling in this space? And they'll say peace. Now, peace will be different for everybody. What does that mean to you? I'm intrigued by when people say a word, what does it mean to them? It's meaning making. I'm not, I speak differently to you. So what do you mean? So this space, the sorts of words that people will say when they are experiencing this center, there's this expandedness, this vastness, this safety, this blissful feeling, this peace. And if you've experienced that, you can pop in the chat what that is for you. Like, what are those words for you? And so when we then try to move in that space, take a step as that true self, that true identity, that Satnam, that Mahatma, that whatever word you want to use, right? That awareness, let's just say awareness. We try to move forward as that part of the self. These, say this little story here encoded is you're scared and you want a hug from a parent. Just say it's dad. You want a hug from dad. And dad's busy. And you're scared. He's busy. And so you have to hold that fear in your little body. And because you're so young, you can't self-soothe. Children cannot self-soothe. Children cannot regulate themselves. It is the primary caregivers, whether that's your mum or your dad, or your auntie, your grandparents, your adopted parents, your foster parent, whoever raised you, to co-regulate, assist the little one to regulate, to soothe, to calm. So if there isn't somebody around to assist you to settle down, then you're in that. And what will happen over time, so this is generalizing, but over time, there'll be a part of you that will develop, say, an aspect of self that may be an armor of, oh, I'm okay, I don't need anybody else. I don't need anyone. I don't need anyone. They're not available. I don't need you anyway. Or, armor themselves so that they don't feel it so much and start to numb from their body. Or freeze, dissociate. So they're, again, not feeling, they're not present, they're not in that center. They're off somewhere watching. So I just want to add this little story in. Some of you may have infants. You may be mothers, grandmothers, grandfathers, fathers, aunties, uncles, whatnot. If you have an infant and that infant is crying and you leave that infant to cry like they did in the Dr. Spock days. Anyone remember Dr. Spock? The crying it out. The child does not self-soothe. The child shuts down. And you think, oh, little Johnny's settled. No, just shut down. If that happens enough, what do you think little Johnny's going to be like as an adult or a teenager? When a baby is crying and it gets to, you'll hear it. I used to teach this. I used to work with infants, like all trauma, newborns that were removed from their parents, and they'd go to a foster carer, and the foster carers couldn't calm the baby. Why? Because there's trauma. Being taken away from the primary caregiver is traumatizing. It's trauma. And I would teach the parents, the foster parents or the new parents, the different sounds, the different language of the cry, what each sound meant. It's a language. Behavior is language. You understand the behavior, you understand what's going on for the person, no matter what age they are. Right? My point here is that when you hear the child go, the little chin goes, you ever seen that? Lisa, you seen that in your grannies? That's the nervous system. If we don't tend to ourselves, to a human, before that kicks over, it takes a good 45 minutes, something like that, last research I looked at, to recalibrate. Oh, I just accidentally put my hand up. That's bizarre. Right? To recalibrate. So what's going on in the nervous system for the human? And you can navigate that. You can be curious about that. I'm not saying that I'm going to teach you in this small amount of time how the language of non-verbal humans. But if you are interested, I mean, you can contact me. It's not what I do professionally anymore, but you know, I spent many a year. It all comes down to really what I'm about to share. If you're in touch with how you are, you're more likely to be able to be in touch with the other. There's a connection. If somebody is spiraling out of control with their triggers, with their fear of love, how to co-regulate or help them soothe, right, and come down back to so there's a little side step, but let me get back to this. So because this is in here, right? If that might be all the times that you were left to cry it out, to fall asleep crying, right? No, I'm not blaming or shaming anybody. A lot of these ways of parenting were the way. They were the way. The thing is, you know, I would monitor, and I'd also, so people, when we did sleep, we did a lot of the sleep stuff with infants, like why weren't they sleeping and what was happening through the night. And we'd watch the videos, right? So they'd be videoed, and you know how they moved, what the sound was, you know, all of these sorts of things. It's like, I'm not allowed to say what I'm about to say. Like you're looking at the problem for the solution, right? But the solution isn't always intuitive. Often it's counterintuitive. It's what you feel like you should do is often the opposite of what would be helpful for the child or for yourself, right? What comes to mind is when I say to you, so the call I had just before here, I was teaching this person to meet their fear, not overcome it, not get rid of it, not push it away, see it as the enemy, to meet it and build a relationship with it. I shared the breath that I've shared with some of you. 3 breaths he did. Meeting the fear with contraction, expansion, contraction. Using mindfulness to touch into who you are. And as we move into these spaces, consciously meeting them and discharging the voltage that's held. So that energy can then be utilized through the rest of the body. Why would you want to get rid of energy that is yours? Anyone tired? Anyone tired? How much is your energy is tied up in the past or the future, right? So you're going out. So that's just the gist of that, because I've got to move on, right? But here is the where we meet the world. So this is the world. And it could be your work, could be family, whatever, shopping, whatever, driving. You're out in the world. As you start to move through this minefield of experiences and coding and belief systems and conditioning, you are well armored up in your particular way of surviving. And we thank those ways because it got you through. But now it's about being conscious of those ways so that as you come into the world, you're not meeting the world with the behavior. I know that looks wrong, but that's the Australian way of spelling behavior. Right? Your actions. Your actions. As you are, the world shall be. So if you're not able to sit here well, you're bringing this out into the world. And that's all your fear and your adaptive strategies and your protection and your shells and your armor and your, your way of navigating. Some of you may not armor in the way that the others do, right? Some of you may retract and go internal and inward, and some of you freeze. Literally, your body, you can't move it, or you can't speak. You lose your words. You freeze. It doesn't matter necessarily what, because that's just an indication of what the nervous system, what parts of the nervous system are speaking. But you could do all of it. We have the capacity to do all of it. So you might get angry before you freeze. You might get angry and then move through that to the sadness and then to the withdrawal and freeze and curl up and not want to participate in life, right? So there's all these different ways. All right. So that's just an overview of what we've been talking about for weeks now, on and off, right? So when I bring it round to, okay, how does these aspects of self, these parts of the self in psychology, when they talk about parts, it is all of these personalities that aren't integrated, and they have particular roles, okay? When we go into our spiritual development, some of you, this may not be relevant, but the question I started with was, someone was asking me, how do you know the difference between an aspect of self, a personality, and spirit? Or, if you do some sort of psychedelic or whatever, that's not my way, but, each to their own. How do you know what's what when you're experiencing something that feels different from the self? And so that, I'm doing a whole book on that. So I'm not going to answer it right now. What I'm going to do is start you on the journey of your own experiencing. Okay. So firstly, we are just going to spend maybe 5 or so minutes, I don't know how long, maybe 10, touching in to how you are. So just feel how you are right now. So if you're driving, probably not a great idea, right? You could probably just check in with yourself, but you're not going to be able to close your eyes, take a breath, and just see where the tension is. See where I just corrected my posture, because as I said it, I felt my back, because I've been sitting, I had calls straight before here and I've gone on to this live, right? I've been sitting too long. So I can feel my back in a particular place. My posture wasn't right. So I just gently corrected it. It's a little bit of tension there. It's all right. It doesn't matter why or how or anything like that. Just notice. Do a little scan of your body. And I'm going to explain myself a little more than I usually would with, some of you have been around for a while. But just maybe start at your feet and just be curious about your feet and your legs and what they feel like. What do they feel like? Are they heavy, light, twitchy, itchy, tingly, cold, hot? And just do that with the rest of the body. It's like a little meditation, just connecting in. How is your system? How is your physical body right now? Do you feel lethargic? Do you feel heavy? Do you feel light? Is there some expansion? Is there some sound, buzzing, sort of ethereal music? Can you hear the neighbors? What's the sensations? And just be curious. You don't need to know why or how. You're just purely noticing. So as you continue to do that, you can sit in this noticing and this witnessing of how you are in this moment at that level and practice that. It's so simple, but the key is if you don't know how you are generally, when something shifts, you have no idea, you have no comparison. When you spend enough time with yourself, noticing regularly how you are, what you sense, purely with the physical. There is no spirit or entities or part, like this is just your physical body noticing. We're not even at the energy yet. So make a note of whatever you noticed. You put in the chat if you like. And then give yourself a rating of 1 to 10. Like, 1 is you're lucky to be out of bed, or maybe you're not out of bed. Maybe you're really struggling today. You can't even get out of bed, or you're sick, you're ill, you're relaxing, recovering in bed, right? Would be 1. Or look, you could be in bed, relaxing, recovering, but you're doing okay. Like you're in good spirits. So you might be a 3 or a 5 or even a 6. If you couldn't be any better, like you're like, I don't even know why you're asking. I don't even know why I'm here. You're a 10. Okay? Something like that. Because as you shift and do processes that are healing or shift your energy or shift your state, and you are curious about how you are now, this is evidence. And the more evidence that you have on yourself, when the stuff hits the fan and you're getting all of this input by or from these aspects of self, all these parts that may not be true, but they come from, these parts are going to be keeping you safe. They're going to be keeping you where you are. which isn't necessarily a bad thing. There's parts of yourself that are helping you survive, but they will not help you really thrive and really move forward. And so it's a matter of having a relationship with these parts and integrating them. Discharging the voltage that they hold so that you can utilize it into the world with conscious behavior, consciously. So let's just take a moment. And those of you that know that, we'll have to give it a name. We'll just say the constriction or the what will we not name it, Rebel? That breath. I don't know, we'll think about it because I've got so many different breaths and stuff that, you know, we're just going to do it. All right. This is your Wednesday breath. You're an 8. Awesome. Although I'm noticing the no seems. Honeysuckle smells lovely. Physically good, emotionally good. Oh, awesome. Well, yep, 8. You know, I was saying this the other day. So this is just something to strive for. So our general is 10 and our bad days are 9. That's what you're going to strive for. Because even if you have an ache or a pain or a fear that's coming up, there's really no reason to drop all the way to a 2 or 3 or right 5. When you have the tools, you experience it, you meet it, you have a relationship with it. So it's not like something of the unknown. It's building that relationship. If you don't have a relationship with your fear, your fear of love, fear, the unknown is what scares us. It's not the fear itself. If you really think about what frightens you, what you're scared, what scares you, and a lot of you will say, I'm not scared, I don't have any fears. I hear it all the time. It's, you know, in some ways, great. But the truth of the matter is, our life is love and fear. And if we're not working with both, you're only working with half of yourself. And being afraid of the other half of yourself, I mean, you're running around in circles. It's like, what's that song? The One-Winged Dove. What's that song? Ooh, baby, ooh, baby. Just go around in circles. Just flapping with one wing. You don't want to be doing that. Okay, so let's do the breath. So I'm going to say it all first, and then we'll do it together because there's a lot of words in there. So you're just going to, if you've got a fear or whatever you've picked up in your system, bring intention to it, take a breath, expand the lungs, expand the rib cage, right? And then you're going to contract your pelvic floor or your sex organs, and then contract the main diaphragm just under the rib cage. Then breathe out while contracting, then release. Maybe have a few breaths, a few normal breaths. Recalibrate what's going on. Scan. Do you still feel that, whatever that was? Right? Do it again. So we're going to do it together this time. Okay. So breathe in, expand the chest, contract pelvic floor, contract diaphragm, breathe out, then release the contraction. Scan. If there's any questions in you don't know how to contract or whatever, so the pelvic floor, like there's intricacies in the muscles, but you don't need to know all of that. Like you're not here to master, yoga. That was my job. And now I can just give you the easy bits. Okay. But as you practice, it's not like right? You can contract. Oh, see, I can't say certain words because we're on social media, but you contract certain muscles without contracting other muscles, right? And it's just, I'm doing it now. And there's no like, right? You can get to this gentle flow where it's like pelvic floor and then up to the diaphragm. Breathe out, release. Expand, contract, breathe out, release, right? Recalibrate. Where are you? So just do a quick scan and see whatever was happening for you, is that still around? How do you feel? Something shifted? Has something come up? Do you have an emotion? What is it? All you're doing is being curious. Put in the chat if you want to share. Now, this is just purely you in your body. Like this is just you in your body. No spirit, no entity, no touching into trauma stuff, nothing. It's just how you are at this baseline. In any research, we have a baseline. Where are you? Pardon me. I've got oil in my tea and it's I should know better. I do know better, but I really wanted coconut oil in my tea. It sometimes catches your throat. All right. What time are we? All right, I find this breath helps me relax me. Awesome. So look, there's much more involved in this than what I'm just giving you a touch. I need to get rid of that oil in my throat. So I'm feeling into whether to go into this next bit because it will take more time than what we have, but I don't want to leave you hanging either. So I'm just going to go through it and you can practice it. And if you really don't understand, you can come back on another day, or you can join us on Holistic Mystic Mastermind. It's $30 a month. You get all the recordings, but you get to come to the back end where we go deeper into all of these processes. You can ask your own personal questions, right? It's up to you. If you're interested, then you can. And you can also see the replays in the library of, the resources that we've been doing. So let's move on to getting a bit of an idea of how we can shift. So I'm assuming that you've done your breath, you've got your status, you've done your breath, you've recalculated where you're at. If it's shifted, maybe it hasn't, but you know where you are, right? So when you go into the next stage, which we call sitting in the power, the self, right? Connecting into another aspect, you feel a difference. And this can take practice, but most people can get it first go, right? Majority of people can get it first go. It's not like, everybody has the capacity, everybody. And happy to prove that anybody who thinks differently, just come talk to me. I won't talk to you, I'll show you. I'll give you an experience. So connecting back into the self, noticing where you're at, noticing where your body's at, what your body's doing. Now go just slightly outside of the physical and feel just around the physical body with your intention or with your mind's eye. Just feel into what your energy's doing. It's okay if you think that you have no idea what you're doing. Well, you might be right. You might be wrong. That's okay. Just be curious. All you're doing is feeling the space around the physical body, just off the skin, and noticing the sensation of that. What's it feel like? What are you noticing? You may not feel it. You may see it. You may see color. You may experience prickling or tingling or a coolness or a warmness or whatever it is, a buzzing. What else? What else? What else? I don't know. You see, this is your experience. This is your experience. A pulsing, an expanding, contracting, almost like a pulsing, a magnetic force. You might feel whirling. What is it that you feel? And just notice. Maybe make a note. You put it in the chat or make a note. And now you understand what your physical feels like and what your energy feels like right now. Now that can change at any moment. So the next piece, we're going through this fast, but you can do it slower in your own time. The next piece would be sensing in. So some of the comments are, I feel calm energy around me, but with a little bit of warmth to it. Yeah, nice. So the next piece would be where we would connect to something beyond ourselves. Okay, so all the information so far has been to do with directly with ourselves, right? Yourself, ourself, the physical and the energetic. And so, you know, in the training, we then go to the next level, which would be seeing what it feels like and sensing when we connect to something outside of ourselves. Okay. So you're up for that? All right. So again, it's like a little meditation. So just get yourself comfortable, make sure, you know, there's nothing that's going to startle you, or, you know, a cat that's going to jump on your lap, or, you know, the wind's blowing and the door might slam because it could startle you. And this part is to move into picking up some kind of indication that there is spirit or some sort of something outside of the self, right? And I've never, you know, there's never been anything harmful, hurtful to come in. What you'll feel is something so subtle that you'll probably overlook it. You'll probably overlook it. So I'm going to give you an idea, but I want you to try it for yourself. And the thing is, if you're not interacting with me, it's hard for me to help you and to guide you in this stuff. The more you interact, the more I can give you. So you're just going to connect with the self again. So you're just listening to my voice as you connect. And feeling the physical, noticing what that physical body feels like. Noticing your breath, making sure you're breathing. You're not holding your breath, in other words. We often hold our breath. And once you've done a bit of a scan of the physical, I want you to do a scan of that energy. Just doing a scan of the energy around you. And noticing if it's changed. Is it the same? You're noticing the similar sensations as earlier. And just sit here for a moment with yourself. And let the body find its space where it can relax. And start to focus on the air coming in and out of the nose. Feeling the sensation of the breath entering the body. And allowing the mind to relax in the knowledge that there's nothing it can achieve right now. It's okay to just relax. And in this quiet state, and if thoughts occur, just allow them to move through, drift gently through the mind, as if you're watching clouds in the sky, just moving with the wind. Making sure you're breathing. And allowing the mind to relax. So we can feel our own energy. And feel it pulse and vibrate. You can feel the atmosphere around us. You can feel maybe our light body expand out into the in-between worlds. Breathing and sitting in your own energy. And recognize your own vibration. Just noticing, noticing, noticing. And in a moment, we're just going to send out a thought to spirit. And you're not necessarily calling in a particular spirit, a particular guide, particular spirit guide, particular angelic. You're just putting a call out or a thought out to spirit. And just say, welcome into the energy. Welcome into the energy. And notice sit for a moment and just wait to see if anything shifts in your energy field. Just notice. What do you sense? What's changed? What's shifted from where you were sitting a moment ago to now? Wait to see if there are any shifts in your energy field as you work with this guide. Feel the blending of the energy. Just allow it. Notice if you get scared. So if you get scared, it's going to push away. So breathe. And just with thought, welcome Spirit Guide into touch your energy field, not into your body. They do not need to be in the body. Just touching the energy around you and noticing your body and in the field if you sense any shift or change. If you don't feel anything, ask again. Say something like, I welcome you, Spirit, into touch my energy field, letting me know that you're here and I welcome you. You're welcome. Notice. Or something similar. And just feel the blending of the energy as you feel power of spirit connecting the higher level of self. You just feel that presence and let the guide give you something of an impression, which means how you sense there's a shift. Just notice. And just take note, be curious. I'm going to sort of come back, wrap it up in a moment. We're just literally touching in, allowing spirit to touch in this higher aspect of self and how you felt. It may have been an itch or a tickle or a touch on the face or the nose or the head. You may get sensations in the hair, in the head, in the mouth, in the throat. You may feel a touch on the shoulder or the arm, tingling, heat. Heat is common. Coolness is also common. But a lot of people, when they're just starting to touch in, they can get very hot. And that can change over time as you integrate. Just noticing where you are at this point in time. And you could sit here, if you're going to practice, you could sit for about 10 minutes and just notice and allow that aspect to share more of who they are with you. But for now, all the energy you're sitting in. You can share it. So just through your intention, share it. See it going out through the heart to all the people who may need some healing or help. Sending out grace, this love, this vibration into or where people are that may need some extra love, extra support, compassion. And just visualize it leaving your heart. And when you're ready, you're going to ask Spirit just to step out of your space. And you just say like that, thank you, Spirit. Thank you so much for coming and sharing, touching into my energy, sharing the love. And we shall meet again. But for now, step out of my space. And as you say that, I want you to feel how your energy changes and start to begin to breathe. Breathe yourself. Noticing. If nothing's changed, ask again. And it's not like you're asking, you're directing, you're saying, it's time to step out of my space. Thank you for your assistance. It's time to step out of my space now. And then just notice the shift, what changes, subtle energy. It's very subtle ways of knowing. And when you're ready, you're just going to breathe yourself back. Just take 2 or 3 deep breaths, breathing yourself back. We didn't go very deep, so it shouldn't take too much to come back. Breathing yourself back to the room or back to the environment. So say you're sitting in the trees behind you. Wherever you are, breathing yourself back. If you feel like you've gone really deep, just squeeze your legs, squeeze your arms, give yourself a stretch, maybe have a sip of water, whatnot. So a little sample of sitting in your own energy, a little sample of starting to touch into something beyond yourself, getting used to that. The next piece I want to take you into, but I'm going to have to go off the live because we've been here over time now. But the next piece we're going into is when we bring a memory, so it's not spirit. When we bring a memory, I can see your eyebrows going. You're like, oh, okay. What happens if we bring a memory into the space? How does the body feel? What are we sensing? What are the similarities? What are the differences? So as a real basic 101, like just the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg, right? You're getting to know yourself, your body, your energy, and higher aspects of self are the parts of self. So when you ask me the question, what is the difference? Then I shall know that you're not practicing. Because if you practiced how you feel in your general consciousness, how you feel in your intermediary consciousness, how you feel in your, your divine intuition, consciousness, and how you are when we purposefully bring in a memory or something that's challenging or a fear, and allow the intelligence of the body to show us. So the more that you do that, the more information you will have on those different aspects of self, but also for the past beliefs and conditioning, the trauma, the stress, the adaptive strategies, how they're coming in or could come in and corrupt the integrity of the information that you could be potentially getting through intuitive processes. So what's coming in? How corrupted is your intuition? So if you've done intuitive studies with me, you might remember that I went on and on and on about corrupted information and evidential information. Why? Because of these reasons. What are the lenses? What's the infiltration of your beliefs and conditioning patterns, your encoding coming in and giving information that is through a fear lens? So you don't have to know that. You don't have to know that. Most people go through their life completely unconscious and are giving advice and guidance, right? But what would it be like if we had some understanding of these different parts of ourselves and what behaviors, what they felt like, just not even about our behaviors, but just what they expressed through our senses, our just basic senses, right? The subtle energies of how we feel them. So when we're in communication, whether it's, some of you are intuitives or psychics or mediums or trance channels, whatnot. Some of you aren't. Doesn't matter. In your everyday life, would you like to know who's speaking through you? Is it the 5-year-old that was neglected and didn't get its needs met? Is it the 3-year-old or the 2-year-old that was left to cry itself to sleep? Is it the 14-year-old that created this protectiveness of that little child and will fight like anything at any indication of a threat to that little one, right? And all the others that are there. How do you know what's guide, what's spirit, what's passed over, and what are your parts of the self, your personalities, your adaptive strategies, your aspects, and how we can integrate them, how we can become more conscious, how we can build relationship with, how we can utilize the voltage, the charge, the energy that they hold for our everyday life. It's profound to me. So I don't know if you're hearing me, and I guess it's okay if you're not. But I just think it's, it's profound work and change your life. Alrighty, so we are going over to our Zoom link now. So those of you that are in Holistic Mystic Inner Circle, come over now. And we'll do the last piece. It'll be fairly quick because we're sort of over time already. But we'll do just a little sample of that. And then we'll finish up. And those of you that are watching on social media or YouTube, Instagram, if you've got any questions, let me know. If you'd like any more information on anything that I've spoken of, or some of the programs and classes, or you want to work one-to-one, connect with me and we can discuss how. So on that note, I hope you're all back and feeling all right. So hey, Tarika. So how do you feel before you go? How do you feel? 1 to 10. Was there a shift? Were you able to feel some sense of presence in your field? Was it absolutely nothing and you feel worse than when you started? Did you enjoy the first part, not so much the second part? Like, review and go back and practice some of those in more depth, because we really went through very quickly. All right, so I'm going to end up here now, and I'll see you on our next live. Until then, may the blessings be. Much love.